Welcome to Behind the Brand, stories and strategies for building your creative business. This is brought to you by the Pinegateroad Studio. You're listening to episode 45. Welcome to Behind the Brand, stories and strategies for building your creative business. Here we take a deep dive into the brands of heart-centered businesses and entrepreneurs and unveil behind the scenes into how they're building their brands, as well as tips and tricks to how you can build your own dream business. I'm your host, Kelsey Kerslake, and I'm the founder of Pinegateroad, a branding studio for businesses and entrepreneurs ready to get their brands completely figured out. From finding your core values, making that beautiful brand identity that speaks to your ideal audience, to figuring out how to style and strategize your social media platforms and launch your new website, we're here to guide you each step along the way to build your dream business. Head to pinegateroad.com to get in touch today about working together. Hello, you guys. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to have you here today, as always. So I hope you're having an awesome day, and I want to introduce Juliet Meeks to you today. If you haven't heard of her, she is a surface pattern designer and a brand designer who lives in New Orleans, and she does some really incredible work. I have been following her on Instagram for a while now. I mean, at least over a year, and I've loved getting to know her and connect with her there, and I was so pumped to finally get to talk to her today. So if you don't follow her on Instagram, please do. She has just the most beautiful patterns ever. I'm seriously obsessed. Everyone is just super drool worthy, and you'll be missing out if you don't follow her. So go over there, Juliet Meeks Design, and give her some love from the Pinegateroad podcast. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the show today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Today's Branding Bite is brought to you by the First Steps to Freelance course. First Steps to Freelance is our new course at Pinegateroad that is just for the people who are just starting out with their business. I know when I started, there were so many things that I didn't know about starting my own business, from learning my finances to creating my schedule to getting to the core of my brand and just figuring out what I wanted to put into the world. So in this course, you'll be learning 5 different things that bring you to success on your own terms. So you'll be learning everything from your core values to how to map out your competition, how to create your offerings, as well as how to create a schedule and a marketing plan. So this is a course you can do in one evening or one afternoon. It is a super condensed, quick course that will give you everything you need to condense what you want to do and walk away with a real plan that will help you succeed. So if you are just starting off and this is something that you want, head to pinegateroad.com/FSTF, First Steps to Freelance. So the 4 letters. Again, that's pinegateroad.com/FSTF to learn more. Hi, Juliet. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to talk to you today after lots and lots of Instagramming over the years.
Yeah. I've been following along with your blog for a while, so it's great to talk with you.
You too. And I'm so excited. I've been in love with your florals and your patterns and everything that you've been doing. And I'm just so excited to learn more about the behind the scenes, because I see the prettiness on the outside and I'm obsessed, and I'm pumped to get to know more about you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's been a pretty quick evolution in the past couple of years, so.
Well, I'm excited to learn more. So speaking of that, I would love for you to kind of go into how you began your brand and just kind of how you got to where you are today, and like a, quick journey overview.
Yeah, so I was an English major in college. I had dabbled a little bit in graphic design. And senior year, I was like, I do not know what I'm going to do with my English major. So I just did more graphic design classes kind of last minute. And just I struggled a little in the beginning, and then something just snapped, and I felt like I really hit my groove and was like, this is it. So when I graduated, I immediately got a design internship at a local branding agency. And then I got another internship after that. And then about a year after graduation, I finally got my first full-time design job at a local weekly newspaper.
Perfect. So after you got to the newspaper, how long did you work there, and how did it go from there?
I worked there for 2 years, and I loved working there because I grew up with my dad he still works in newspapers for decades. He's a writer and editor, but I love designing for print and all the layouts for the paper. It was really fun. But about a year in, I knew I was like, okay, I'm ready to start working for myself. I kind of knew that was my trajectory. So 2 years after I quit, and I had saved money for maybe about like 6 or 8 months, and then just went for it full time.
How was that transition for you?
I was really excited at the time. I felt a little safer having saved a cushion. We were able to lower some of our living expenses. So it just by moving. So it was like, I was just so happy to be on my own. I really love making my own schedule. And it was definitely harder the first 6 months because my focus was brand design, but then I was like, okay, I know I really want to get into surface pattern design and get into making my own products. But I was doing mostly brand design, and I still am. But the first 6 months were definitely tough because, like, while I was working at my job, I had a really good, consistent freelance client, but then they hired someone in-house full-time. So then I lost them like right when I left my job. Yeah.
Were you like kind of counting on that as like a consistent thing and then it just didn't happen?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely would have been nice to have like a supplement to the money I had saved, but luckily I can say, just now over 2 years in, I definitely got my groove back. I think it just took about like 6 months of like, just like, it was just hard. But once you get through that, it starts to feel so much better, even just a year in.
Yeah. When do you think you finally hit that groove? Because next week is my 1 year anniversary of working for myself full time. And I feel like just in the past maybe a couple weeks, I'm finally like, okay, here's my groove. Like, yeah. And I didn't feel like that for a really long time. And it was frustrating me. I thought it would happen quicker.
Yeah. I would say I keep thinking I'm doing better, and it feels like I'm just getting better and better. But I mean, 2 years in, I would say I'm definitely more confident than I was a year ago. Yeah. But I mean, then it's like you have up and down. So it's just, it's just a process. And I would say like mentally and scheduling wise, like I feel like I'm really doing well with figuring out like how I work. I think it takes a long time to figure out the way that you work when you're just by yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I have gone through a lot of different schedules, as in no schedules.
Yeah, that's kind of my schedule.
I know. And it was like that for so long. And sometimes I would feel super productive and I would work like, not like it's ideal, but I would work 16-hour days or things like that. And then some days I probably get like 1 or 2 hours of work done because I just like could not focus. So yeah. Now I'm on this like crazy schedule that I love. And I feel like every time I do a crazy schedule, it somehow like propels like me and my business and everything into something I'm not expecting. And that is kind of what happened when I left my full-time job. I did a schedule and then all of a sudden it was like everything just started going really well. So I'm trying it again.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I've never really like been into authority, and like, even though like I really like the idea of schedules, I have a really hard time keeping them. So I have embraced just doing what I want when I want to. And it's kind of working out well, instead of just like constantly trying to like perfect myself into the schedule that I just can't really meet. So I do try to take weekends off, but like I'll often be working on a Sunday afternoon. But I love, that's more like my personal artwork that I'll do on my off time. But that's what I love. So
yeah. And is that kind of how so like I'd love to hear about the transition from when you were doing branding work when you quit your job, and then now you're like venturing into surface pattern design. And can you talk about kind of that transition?
Yeah, so I'm still doing brand design. That's probably still about like half of my income. Okay. Yeah, and I do love doing it. I've just kind of taken on slightly different brand design clients, which I can get into. But for me, I think it was, so I left my job in June of 2015. And then in October of 2015, I started the 100-Day Project. And yeah, and that for me is like definitely like my defining moment of, because I had loved patterns for so long and I've dabbled in creating them, but I needed to like create a lot of work and get a sense of my style and get more consistent with actually making patterns instead of dreaming about making them.
Right.
Yeah. So the 100-day project was amazing. And I think I wrapped that up I barely missed a day. So like I would go on vacation and like bring my paints with me. And
oh, I love that. So for people who don't know about the 100-day project, do you mind explaining about that? And like, is there one person who does it? Like, I don't know that, but I've heard of it before.
Yeah, I think it's Elle Luna who started it. And they have like specific dates every year or every other year or so, I think starting in April, but you can just start it whenever you want and you can pick any theme that you want. Like some people do 100 photos a day, some people do writing, but I just did 100 painted patterns. And then I would post every day my pattern on Instagram.
That is so fun. They're just gorgeous. Like I look through your Instagram and it's just this like sea of prettiness and I love it.
Thank you.
And I didn't know it like happened from that. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it evolved from that project where my patterns were a lot simpler and I was just really getting into watercolor, and now there's a little more detail and I'm doing like a lot of florals and experimenting with color a lot, which I love.
Awesome. So how do you balance working for clients and working for yourself?
That is really tough. There are so many times where I dream about like, oh, I'm just going to work for myself. And because I have my own products, so I'm like, I'm just going to design my products. But the reality is like, I kind of like having the structure of clients and I like having a deadline and I like having a project that's very specific guidelines to work on. And plus, supplementing your income. So,
right.
Yeah, so I would say, they actually kind of play off of each other. For clients, I'll do things that I normally wouldn't maybe like have the drive to do myself. So it's kind of helps me expand my style and my skill set.
Love it. So I'm all about the diversified income as well right now, but sometimes I'm just like, should I just devote myself to the one thing and like go after that? And I don't know. It's a challenge for me as well. And just being so new into the full-timeness, I feel jumpy. Like I'm all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, I can't promise that I don't feel that way still sometimes.
Yeah.
But maybe if you wanted to like go for one thing, just kind of like change up the ratio a little bit instead of jumping it. Like
right.
You're doing your main thing 3/4 of the time. And then like 1/4 of the time you're working on something else. However, you could make that work.
Right. And I think I tried, like, my big core now is just that I do branding. And whether that is, like, educating people on how to build their brands through courses and things like that, or it is actually building the brands for my one-on-one clients. So I feel like if I have that umbrella, I kind of have the room to play in a lot of those different things. And like I even love like the hand lettering, so I do typefaces, and then I'm like, well, those are under branding because you can use them in your brand. And so
totally.
I'm like, as long as they're under that, I feel good.
I know. I'm amazed at your hand lettering. I just love it. I do a little hand lettering, but like, I mean, it's just incredible. So
well, I'm amazed at your patterning. So I'm one of those people, like, I can't come up with something from my head very easily. I kind of need to have a structure there, and then I can build on top of that.
Yeah, me too.
At least with like, really?
Yeah. I look at, like, I've been painting a lot of florals, so like I look at books, like vintage books, like with photos of flowers, and kind of just try and like put my perspective on the photo.
Oh, that's really cool. So what would, like, if somebody was going to be doing that, like, what tips and tricks would you give them to kind of, I don't know if that's a weird question, but
no, I mean,
I've never been able to like actually draw florals, like, or anything like that. Like, if they wanted to start, how would they do that?
Yeah, well, I would say, I don't really know how the floral thing kind of happened with me. I just feel like it just sort of just happened. But I guess it's just like, just having a reference photo is so helpful, and maybe later on you won't need that. But, just take an online class. Like, there's some great classes on Skillshare and Creative Bug. I have a basic watercolors class on Skillshare, but I haven't done florals on it yet, but I'm thinking maybe I should explore that. But yeah, just having some, like, whatever inspires you. Like when I'm walking my dog, I'll take photos of things that I like just based on colors or just plants that I love, and just anything that like gives you that spark. And then maybe you can, just kind of get your own perspective from there.
So I didn't know that you have a Skillshare class. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so I think it was about a year ago, they contacted me and were like, oh, we would love if you would make a class. And I was like, no. I was so terrified because I was like, I have to be on camera and, it's really intimidating. Like I've, only been really doing watercolor for a couple of years now. But, I did start out with a really basic watercolor class, and that helped me think, all right, well, I definitely know the basics. And I think it turned out pretty well. And I'm just wrapping up my second class that is based on how to turn your watercolor elements into repeat patterns using Photoshop.
That's awesome. My first job was technically in the surface design studio at American Greetings. Cool. And even though I was just doing stationery, I was like, I guess I'm a surface designer now. Like I wasn't really, but like
that is so cool.
It was cool to learn how. I didn't even know how to put together a pattern, and now I do a little bit.
Yeah,
but it's such a fun, cool skill. So
and the
that's exciting you're teaching it.
Yeah, and there's so many resources out there and different ways of actually making the repeatable patterns. So this is just my specific way of going about it. But the stationery world is so crazy. Like I want to have more stationery designs, but I just can't keep up. I mean, you have to have so many designs every season, and it's just like that's pretty much your full-time job.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like I had Liz of Lionheart Prints on the show, and she was like, "Oh, Kelsey, just go do it. Make your stationery line." And I was like, "No, like I know this is a huge commitment. I'm not there."
Yeah.
I was like, "I love it. I will buy everybody else's products, but it's just not for me."
Yeah. I know Liz too because she lives in New Orleans, and her designs are beautiful. Yeah, but yeah, stationery is no joke.
No, it isn't. It's serious. As fun as it is, it's very serious.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So one of my big things at Pinegateroad is really going into the values of your brand and just seeing how you live them out. And so first of all, I want to ask if you have any kind of like core values and if you have been able to live them out through your brand. And if not, maybe like what feelings and things and like guiding, like things you have in your business that you go by to make sure that you're on the right direction moving forward.
Yeah. So with me, I mean, it feels very personal to my art. And for the first like couple years, I've just been kind of focusing on doing what I really want to do. So that's been kind of my guiding light is like, taking on projects that I really love and not wasting my time or other people's time on projects that don't really get me excited. And so that's kind of been my focus. And now I'm just sort of turning a little bit, keeping that, but also trying to work with clients that I really, align with and trying to keep a level of, I worry about sustainability because you're designing for products and, getting so many produced. So I like to, so I like to work with clients. Like I'm working with, a fabric company, and all of their fabrics are organic, which is kind of huge in the textile industry. So I love that they're organic. So just stuff like that makes me feel a lot better with what I'm making.
Yeah. So you're like taking the personal things you believe in and kind of making sure that the people and things that you're working with are kind of following those things.
Right. Yeah. And even with my own products too, just trying to produce them in a sustainable way, like, using local people if I can, or at least made in the US. All of that is important to me.
Love it. So how are you, like, one, I'd love to hear just about your journey to making products and what that kind of looked like for you. And like, did you just kind of jump in one day and you're like, I'm going to make this, or how did that all go and how is it going? And maybe advice for people who want to start making products.
Yeah. So, like, again, something I've struggled with is, do I approach that full time? Because that is definitely a full-time job on its own.
Yes.
So when I was in my day job before, I took a business plan class, and the whole class I focused on writing a business plan for a line of pillows, which have yet to have happened, but the idea, yeah, but the idea is kind of, the same no matter the product. And then that kind of evolved to tea towels, which I think I probably had the idea for making tea towels for 3 years now, but I'm just now, like, as of last week, finalizing the designs exactly how I want them made. So I'm really excited. So it's
yay.
yeah, it's definitely, I'm very detail oriented. So it just kind of depends on the person if you're going to jump right in and be like, all right, this is my design. And I get a lot of indecision about, like, making, like, what I feel like is the perfect design and, produced exactly the way I want it to, and also at a cost that I can wholesale. So there's so many factors. So I would say it's not a quick process at all.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you want to do something more simpler, like paper goods, like making art prints, that is a little bit an easier place to start. Like, if you're a visual artist or you're a hand letterer, I would say art prints is the most accessible way to start making your own products.
Unless you're like me and you had to hand make all of your own art prints while you were running pinegateroad and working a full-time job in corporate America.
Yeah.
That was
even something as simple as that. You could just take it to a whole new level.
And that was like me just being a crazy person. And for people listening, I did art prints like a long time ago, and I still have all of the supplies. I think I probably only sold like 20 art prints total, but it is what it is. It was a fun thing to do. You get those projects sometimes and you're just like, this is in my heart, it's happening right now, and I just need to do it.
Oh yeah. I definitely feel that way. And there's so many things that I want to make, but I can't fund those things yet. Like, I can't fund everything, so I have to pick and choose. And I think I've gotten better about that. I opened my shop about almost a year and a half ago. So
nice.
So I still have my art prints and some stationery, but I'm considering doing a little revamp for the holidays and having my new tea towels, and really just trying to hone in on, like, the best products that are appealing to stores too, and not just like retail consumers. So
yeah. So do you just sell online right now, and do you package everything?
Yes, I sell online. I also sell in a few stores with wholesale and consignment, mostly locally, but there's a couple of stores that I got through Etsy wholesale.
Nice.
And then, but yeah, mostly also online through my own shop, and I do package everything myself currently.
That is, applause.
Thank you.
I know how hard that is.
It's a little, summer, it's like, I'm not promoting my shop all the time. So summer is slower. So really the craziest times for me are the holidays, because I'll do local art markets here, because there's a lot of art markets in New Orleans. Yeah. So that is really when I am like, oh my God, I have so much to do in November and December. I actually it's crazy. I've been actually telling some clients, like, I'm not going to be doing anything in November and December. Yeah. So I can do this.
I was just asking, I was like, do you just take off from the branding side of things and focus on that in the holidays? Because it can get crazy.
Ideally. Last year, I had a branding project that kind of extended into it, and I'm like, not happening this year. So
yes.
I love my branding projects, but yeah.
I feel like mine, they don't always extend, but we will sometimes, like, need to add something on, or like we'll hire somebody else on into the project, like a photographer, copywriter, developer, things like that. And then there's these, like, unforeseen things that end up extending everything. So I've never been able to take, like, last year I was like, I'm taking all of January through March off, and it didn't happen at all. Like, I think I took 2 weeks off through, like, those 3 months. Like, how do you kind of schedule around that kind of stuff? Do you, or do you just go with the flow?
I would say that hasn't been very successful so far, but I did go on vacation a couple of times in the past few months, and I think it actually worked out really well for those 2 1-week vacations, where I just told everyone I'm working with, I will be gone. And I put an autoresponder for certain contacts in my email, because last time I set it for everyone, it would just like respond to promotional emails.
Yes.
I hate that. So, but that works really well. And then they know, okay, well, she'll be back. And I just try and let it go. And I will check my email, but I'll try not to respond.
Yeah, that's good. I've taken a couple like here and there vacations, but I feel like I'm always bringing my computer, and like I'll plan to not do too much work, but if something does pop up, I'm like, okay, like got to get this to so-and-so or things like that. So
yeah,
something I'm trying to work on this next year.
Yeah, like, I mean, last year I was on a beach vacation, and I just kind of like just was sending this huge file to a client and the internet at the house was super slow. It took hours to upload, and I kept like running back and trying and seeing it.
No.
And I'm like, Juliet, what were you doing? so now I don't think I will ever do something like that again. So that's good that I've evolved.
Yes. I guess it's just something you learn as you keep growing your business. Because at first it's just so like, okay, I'm doing this and it's all the time. And then you're like, okay, no, I really need boundaries around my work and my life and all of that. So.
Yeah. And you start to get less of a sense of urgency. Like, I'm designing, pretty watercolors. It's not going to like end the world if they get it a day later. So
right. There's something like, I love that you said that. I've been dealing with a lot of, I find a lot of my worthiness in my work. Which is something I've been trying to get away from. And I don't know if this is something that you're dealing with, but at the end of the day, like, I am creating these brands. I'm creating, like, beautiful, fun things. But if there is I can't let those things, like, get in the way of me living a nice, joyful life at the same time. Even though that's the means to it, I need to stop finding so much worth in like what my clients, I guess, think of my work. Because if I get like I don't love that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, am I terrible? And it's like, no, Kelsey, you're not a terrible person. We're just going to keep working through this. I don't know. Do you get anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I'll like, I just work a lot. So I'm trying to take time away from that. And definitely not take things as personally. With the way I try and avoid that aspect is like, I try to work with clients who know, my style is what you're getting. So
yes,
I definitely work with clients where they're looking for a different kind of style, and I will adapt to it. But it's really best when they're like, we want exactly what you do, just custom for us. And that is ideal.
Right. Yeah. And I guess I do get a lot of clients like that, but and maybe I'm just being too hard on myself, because if somebody, this is like, I'm like ridiculous. I'm like, if somebody doesn't respond with like, yes, I love it, it's the best thing ever, then I'm like, they don't love it. Like, I didn't do the best job I possibly could. And which is me being crazy. So
no, I mean, it's not crazy. Anyway. I totally get that. I mean, it's like you're creating from your soul. So
yeah, but it's like, I'm trying to learn how to detach a little bit and be like, here's my work, here is what I produce to live my life, and that is not a reflection on my personal worth or worthiness. And maybe that has probably been my biggest journey this past year.
Yeah, maybe thinking of the design as an object that instead of just something that's an extension of you. I think that sort of helps with me. It's like, they want to make changes to the design, not to me.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I'm going to keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's hard though. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you get it because you're a branding person, as well as you're also putting yourself out there in these products. And that's a big part of like you as a person probably, right?
Yeah, I would say like my own product line is probably where I take things the most personally. Like if something doesn't sell as well, I'm like, oh, well, I should take that down, stuff like that. But then it's like, then I'll do an in-person event, and then I'll usually like sell one of everything so that it sort of validates it for me. So I just have to, I just have to remember like, it's just all about the audience at that moment. And, it's about other people, not necessarily you. So.
Right. Yeah. And when I was working in at American Greetings, and we would get like our reports back from Target or something and be like, oh, this design sold this much or blah, blah, blah. And you'd always be like, what? Like, it was just sometimes, I mean, we very strategically like went over those lists, but it was just kind of crazy. Like, you never know what is going to be that top seller. And of course there's themes over the years, but
yeah,
it's not, sometimes it's not what you think. And a lot of times it's like, okay, it's like the general mass market and not necessarily like the things that might be your personal favorite as well.
Yeah. It's surprising sometimes, like the trends of the mass market versus maybe what you think looks best. So
right.
Just a balance, I guess.
Yep. It's hard but good and fun. It's like a little game.
Yeah.
All right. So I would love for you to, I guess, like share any like tips or tactics that you have learned about growing your brand and creating your business with our audience today.
So I would say first of all, since I'm kind of working more as an independent artist, I really enjoyed using my name as my business. And I feel like that's something I get asked a lot. Like, it's like, should I use my name or should I come up with a business name? And to be honest with you, I just like tried so hard for so long to come up with a business name that I liked and wouldn't get sick of and wasn't taken, and the URL was available. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't see any other Juliet Meeks on Google, so I'm just going to go with my name. And that was really, like, I think the best decision, because I feel like as an artist, it's like people, feel more connected with you, and it's a little more personal. So that is definitely something that I was happy I did.
I love that you brought that up, because that is something I get asked a lot. And especially I run the Build a Booming Brand course, like our signature course at Pinegateroad. And that's something that pops up with a lot of our clients there, or students. And I'm always saying, if you are your brand, it's sometimes best to have your name, because then you can grow into whatever you're passionate about and it's all under you. And if like your brand or your business is something that is going to be bigger than you. So for example, Pinegateroad, like I one day would love to like still be the creative director and things for Pinegateroad, but I would love to like maybe step away a little bit and have it run as this kind of like branding entity. Like, I don't want it to be tied into what I specifically am doing.
Yeah.
So that's why I love having that, another name that means something that isn't necessarily me. And even though I'm a huge part of my brand right now, my bigger vision is that hopefully one day I can kind of step back a little bit and just be that, the bigger vision kind of person. So I like that you brought that up, because I've rebranded 2 clients this past year as their names because they are their business.
Right. And I mean, even myself, though, I do feel the same way of maybe one day, like, not stepping away, but like having a team. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. I mean, I know other people do it all the time, have a team under their own name. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, it was so crazy to me how when Kate Spade sold her name and her business, I was like, well, I guess I can really like do this. Like,
there's no wrong or right way. I guess I just use that as a general guideline, because people are like, what's the answer? And I'm like, well, here's my answer. Like, but please do whatever you want.
Yeah. And let's see, another thing that I would say that I've personally got caught up in, especially doing freelance graphic design work from the beginning, it's like in the beginning, I would just take on everything. And I think that's absolutely fine when you're starting out, because like you really want to learn all different types of projects, work with all different types of clients. But, as you do it more and more, you'll learn to just kind of pick and choose what you're really best at. And then I just don't take on every inquiry that I get. And I'll even recommend other designers if I'm like, this isn't really what I do. Even though I maybe would want the income, like for example, like if they really want a website design, I know that I am going to hate myself in a couple months if I have to design a whole website So like I will be like, I can do the branding and here's a web designer that would work for you. And that really works out well. And I think it just takes time to get to the point of being ready to do that.
Absolutely. And I will say from my experience, it was the same thing. And I was doing everything that came my way. And now even though I could do it, I'm saying pinegateroad does these specific things to help you get to X, Y, and Z. And if you want to get to A, B, and C, like I can guide you there, but it's not going to be with us.
Yeah. And it's so freeing to do that. It's the best feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And now it's like I have these processes and procedures that we all work through, and I don't feel as chaotic. It was crazy. Before it was like, oh, I'll take on stationery and magazine design and this and that, and it just was, there's no process to anything. I mean, there was underlying design process, but everything was so different. We were starting over every single time.
Right. Yeah, it's just so nice to be able to do the things that you love and you feel really confident that you have a system down for.
Absolutely. Have there been any like other big challenges that have popped up as you have been growing your brand in your business?
Challenges, I would say so. Since a part of my business now is kind of still doing brand design for the right types of clients, but then also trying to do more and more surface pattern design. And so with that and doing custom surface designs for clients, it's really like you have to have a lot of confidence. And so I would say that just getting myself to a place where I feel confident enough to pitch myself and to potential clients. And that's really what I would really recommend anyone interested in getting into surface design to do, is just not be afraid to pitch yourself.
So what kinds of things are you pitching yourself for as a surface designer?
Well, like I will find a client that I really like and I can tell that they work with independent artists. Like for example, if it's someone who does like some sort of baby product or wallpaper, and I will just send like a cold call email and just say, hey, this is my work. And if you're interested, I'd love to work with you. And, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So it's just getting okay with the fact that you might be getting those no's.
Yeah. Or
getting ignored.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It still hurts a little if you don't get a response, but you have to balance that out with, I'm working on all of these really amazing projects right now, and it just makes it all worth it.
And I always think like whatever is really meant to be is meant to be. That is just one of my guiding principles that has gotten me through everything in my life. So I feel like the way to get to where you're going is to ask. So I've never this is one of my things, but I've never been afraid to ask. And then I've always just been trying try to be cool with the no's. I'm not saying it's like easy every time.
It's not fun, but yeah.
No, but I do have that like true belief that the ones that were meant to happen do happen. And sometimes just even by putting yourself out there and asking in the first place is putting you in a position for even greater, bigger things. Like maybe those people don't need you, but they know somebody at some other company who now knows about you and they tell them about you and just who knows. So, yeah,
I had like last fall in the middle of all the holiday craziness, I was talking with someone and potentially going to work on this big project. And then I had to actually say no because the terms weren't right. But then I was like, okay, well, since I turned that down, basically, I'm going to pitch myself to a fabric company. And I had like a specific company in mind, and it was Cloud9 Fabrics. And then literally a couple weeks later, they emailed me about a potential collection, and I was like, I couldn't even believe it was real.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So sometimes it's like, when you say no to something, it just makes space in the universe for something else to come through. And it just really felt meant to be.
Exactly. I try. It's great when you're not too attached to the outcome of what's going to happen. And sometimes better and bigger things do happen. I would say most of the times. It's not even sometimes. All the time.
Yeah. That's a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah. All right. So for one of my final questions is just to go into something that you are really loving. It can literally be anything. And I like to hear about what people are into. So do you have a favorite something that you're loving right now?
Okay, yeah. So I just got back from a trip with my boyfriend, who's now my fiance. We got
Yay!
yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you. Yeah,
so that literally just happened.
Yes, it was like I think just about a week and a half ago.
Oh my gosh, you must be like in such crazy bliss mode.
Yeah, we really are, but we're already going to view potential venues this week, so I'm really excited. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, but anyway, so like thank you so much. Yeah. So anyway, but on our trip, the next day we were in California and we took the train down from San Francisco to LA, and I've ridden the train before in the South, but I just loved the train, and I just kept been like gushing about it to everyone, and taking the Amtrak along the coast was just so much fun. And it was pretty cheap too. So that's my recommendation, is try a train ride.
I love that. I did a few train rides. My mom has never she will fly now. She just did, but like for the first time in like 20 years, but flying was not a thing that we did as a family because of my mom. So we did do a couple train rides like growing up, and they're fun.
Yeah,
but they're always at like weird hours, but I love the idea of going along the coast like that. That's so cool.
Yeah, they're definitely like not if you want to get somewhere fast, but we got like a sleeper car. So it's like this little room that you get, and you have two beds in case you want to sleep. And, we had meals on the train, and then we had a wine tasting. It was just amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So is there a specific one that you did, or is it just the Amtrak, or?
It was the Coastal Starlight. Okay. And it goes all along the West Coast. So
I love that.
It was unfortunately.
How fun would that? That would be like a great family vacation to like take your kids on, like do the whole coast.
Yeah, you can even they have coach, business class, the sleeper roomettes, and then they have like family rooms where you can fit it's like a living room. They're really neat. But yeah, so like if you go, like when you go along Santa Barbara, you're right by the coast, but unfortunately our train was delayed, so it was dark, but it was pretty cool still because we could just see the stars and the water underneath us. So it was really neat.
So cool. I love that. All right. Well, are there any products or services that you're offering that you would like our audience to check out?
Yeah, well, I'm always up for doing custom surface pattern design or brand design, especially kind of like ones that have that handmade illustrated look. And you can find me on Instagram at Juliet Meeks Design, and my website is julietmeeks.com. And one thing I'm really excited about, I mentioned before, in December, my first fabric collection with Cloud9 Fabrics is coming out, so I cannot wait for that.
Yay! So will that be on your site as well as theirs?
It will be. They sell to boutique sewing stores, and also there are some sites online. Yeah. So it'll just be like through the various stores, and you can find which stores they're available in through on their site.
Perfect. I love it. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was awesome getting to meet you and talk to you about literally all the things. That was awesome.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you to our sponsor, Audible.com, for supporting the show. Please head to audibletrial.com/pinegateroad to get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute and head to iTunes to rate and review the show. It makes a big difference in growing the show, and I'll be here giving you a virtual high five behind the scenes. You can follow along with the studio for branding tips, advice, and general inspiration on Instagram, username pinegateroad, or by heading to pinegateroad.com for everything else happening in the studio. Sending lots of love and wishing you an awesome week. You've got this.